I will call to order the regular meeting of the Green Mountain Water Sanitation Board on Tuesday, April 14th at 6:30. And start with a roll call. I am Karen Morgan, present.
Cindy Zuckman, present. Mark Marquez, present. Roger Wendell, present. Bill Gardner.
And we have a quorum. So we could all stand the pledge. Good night. I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Are there any changes to the agenda tonight? I don't see any, so we will move on to public comment. Can I start with anybody online who would like to speak? I don't see any hands raised. iPhone is unmuted. Okay. Anybody in the room like to speak?
Sure.
Okay. Oh, my first time. But come on in and
I thought is
we'll get him.
Congratulations on the vote. I know you didn't take a position as attempting to influence anybody. Look forward to that being obvious on 17th, is it? I'll be there. If you all were to create an enemies list, I would encourage you to put Roger Lowe's name on the list. And I'm calling him out. I'm going to do everything I can to see he's defeated. I'm committing $5,000 to the effort today.
Did you see him last night at the council meeting?
Yeah, oh, you did see them.
Yeah. Council meeting.
Thanks, Larry.
Thank you very much. There's Bernard. On the phone?
Yes, hi, this is Alex.
I've got one phone with a hand raised and one phone unmuted. So the hand raised needs to unmute. Okay. Do we have anybody there?
I am here. This
Oh,
this is Ludmilla. I am stuck without a computer at the present time. I'm going to try to get back on it, but for right now, we're going to have to deal with me on my iPhone. Good evening, Director Morgan, Director Wendell, Director Hardinger, Director Weichman. Oh, I see you, Director Martinez. Hello, Dylan. Hello, Josh. And who's back there running the computers tonight? Hi, Sam. What an exciting month it's been. The adrenaline has finally drained and the exhaustion has finally set in. It's time to take a break from campaigning. What an unbelievable victory for the Yes campaign. David versus Goliath. And I'm not talking about David Gardner or David Weichman. When the election results were revealed at the election watch party, the room exploded. The volunteers present worked so hard combating the misinformation spread by the No campaign, especially the labels and the false flyers distributed imitating Green Mountain Water's flyer. The No campaign received $269,000 versus the Yes campaign's $43,000. I'm not counting amounts paid directly to our attorney. City Council seemed shocked last night, bringing me to an important point. 9 of the 11 City Council members which includes the mayor, voted on a resolution encouraging voters to vote no at this special election. I don't understand why Green Mountain Water has a campaign complaint against them and the city of Lakewood, and the city council does not. Can someone explain why? Dylan. The Yes campaign fought numerous campaign complaints. The first one, there was a hearing. The attorney appeared pro bono, and the hearing officer ruled in favor of the petitioners, the defendants. The second complaint was a protest hearing, and the same attorney, this time hired, was very well versed in election law, citing numerous case laws, some of which dated back to 1958 or 1938. The plaintiffs had no chance. I am concerned about Green Mountain Water's campaign complaint scheduled for this Friday. It would be great if we had consultation from the attorney that represented the Yes campaign. Another thing that is disturbing on the agenda is the ravine. What is the city of Lakewood waiting for? We have an easement. We requested a permit. They denied the permit. So if it blows up, it's on the city of Lakewood. They just had to pay out a court judgment in the amount of $42 million. I think they'd want to take care of their structures so we can take care of our pipes before there is a blow up that they will be responsible for, because they were put on notice. And don't forget about the report on the ravine, page 10. We don't own a darn thing in that city of Lakewood's Ravine Park. Again, thank you all for your support for the Yes campaign. I thought I heard a rumor the city of Lakewood now would like to have an infrastructure study done. They're always 2 steps to 10 steps behind. Keep up the good work. It's good to see you, David, on the mend. Signing out till next time. Good night.
Thank you very much.
Can you guys hear
Anybody
me
else
okay
like to
now?
speak? Yes. Hello.
Hi, I'm sorry, I pushed one button to unmute myself, but I did not push the button to raise my hand. I apologize about that. So if that's okay with the board, can I proceed to speak?
Yes, please.
Hi, Sam. Hi, Dylan. Hi, Josh, and anybody else in the room. Hello, board.
Is this
Thank you for holding.
Alex.
Yes. And so I wanted to kind of slightly follow up to what Ludmila said, but also kind of raise some points in light of this, recent drought conditions. As most of you should be aware by now, yes, the other side of the campaign did issue a falsified or fake-looking card that looked like a mailing from the Green Mountain Water District. And in it, they made a bold claims that Denver Water allegedly has enough water for Lakewood to the infinity and beyond, or something to that effect. And I recall when I was on the board, Director Morgan and myself, we kind of got in touch with Denver Water at various times. And one of the things we kept trying to get to was some sort of a accounting or a sort of a tally or anything of the sort of how much water does Denver Water actually have versus how many projects, developments, golf courses, etc., did it sign on to provide water for. And we never got a clear answer. And another point that some of us were raising at the time was the agreement, I believe it was from 1974 or so, with Denver Water. And in there, if you examine that agreement, there are 5 stages basically of drought conditions and 5 kind of stages of measures that the Denver Water would be taking. And as you know, we just got an email from Green Mountain, who gets their water from Denver Water. We just went into drought stage 1 conditions. And if you kind of go up that scale, by the time you get to 3, it gets rather bad. And you don't want to be in 4 and 5 because that means no water for you. So I was wondering if, to all the points before, if Green Mountain could maybe dig a little deeper as into, what the current stage 1 means. Is there actually enough water? Will Denver Water provide some sort of an accounting or accountability for as to how much water there actually is versus how much is being used? And these other various claims, I would be curious to see this other side of the, recent campaign, if they actually have any data to back up their bullshit claims with. So that's just kind of where I'll leave it. I mean, keep up the good work. And if, Dylan and company and the staff could maybe dig into this a little bit, hopefully with the backing of the board, that would be great. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you, Alex. Anybody else online would like to speak? I see no one, so we will close public comment in 1, 2, 3, and out. Thank you all for your input tonight. On to approval of the minutes.
I'd like to make one correction on that special meeting, whenever it was. I was listed as, not in attendance, but I was there on Zoom.
Okay. I did not notice either way, but,
Yeah.
okay. Well, then I apologize for not, so I was trying to get any board member, of course, could have answered questions, but it was a little chaotic, so I apologize for that, neglected you there. Okay, so with the correction that David was in attendance on the March 3rd, are there any? Well, we have two.
Yeah, I was just gonna point out that, the note taker, there was,
Yeah, I was there.
I was happy with all of them, so.
Okay.
You can see.
What would you recommend?
Yeah, as Josh just noted, the note taker provided a full set of notes for the March 3rd town hall meeting. In our March 10th meeting, we mentioned that we would do it in the house. I think it was just an honest mistake. I can't blame the note takers for having proceeded. So I propose that we go ahead and accept our in-house minutes and the note takers minutes. So 2 sets of minutes for the March 3rd town hall meeting.
Anyway, with me present.
I can't comment because I don't remember.
Yes, yeah. I do remember, I was there. I remember he was there.
We can, make that addendum.
Yeah, I was just updated to not in attendance, but online.
Yeah.
And attendance. Okay. And then any, discussion for the March 10th?
We'll take a quick look. I took some notes here. No, I don't recommend any changes to the March 10th minutes. So I move that we accept both sets of March 3rd minutes and March 10th
With the correction.
with the correction.
Second? Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Director Martinez, all in favor? Director Hardinger, do you have a, would you like to? Are you against this?
No, I'm for it.
Okay, unanimous approval. Thank you. Financial matters? Is there, do you have anything to report, or would you like to make a motion to accept the?
I do have one thing to report. I keep looking at it and we do very well at reporting what it is that we're very transparent. Yeah, I like it, but I'm still trying to grasp all the aspects of what monies come in and what we spend money on.
Okay.
I really like the town hall. I thought there was quite a bit of interest in that. Maybe it was just due to the pending election. Of course, turned out.
Okay, well then I will make a motion for the acceptance of the daily monthly operating expenses and the unaudited financial investment report. Is there a second?
I second that.
Second by Director Martinez, all in favor?
And discussion.
Any other discussion? I'm sorry.
Just one item, like I mentioned earlier, I was going to defer to Phil to kind of go through the details, but if you can see in the financials, which are posted online, we spent a substantial amount on office furniture. But in my opinion, it was money well spent. It really upgraded not only our meeting space here, but where receptionists are located and the rest of the staff. Job well done, excellent selection on office furniture. It looks great and really cleaned up the entire facility, in my opinion. But what I wanted to add to that was to avoid, paying the expense of having the old beat up stuff taken away. Josh and his crew were able to find, places to donate it, one of which was a neighboring water district. So in my opinion, as much money as we spent on office furniture, it was a win-win all the way around. Thank you.
Might be a little academic now, but Mike, any chance do you have some old chairs that, I'd be interested in buying one?
That is to be determined, we were missing a few chairs from the initial delivery, so once those come in, we were gonna consolidate some of the chairs here, but I believe there'll be some available, yes.
Yeah, forget my that, I'll buy one.
I'll let you know.
Yep, thanks for taking care of all that. Anything else? Dr. Window? Okay, thank you. Then all in favor of the motion approving the reports? Aye. It's unanimous approval, thank you. Mr. Manager.
All right, 2 main breaks we had in March, bringing our total to 6 for the year, which is incredible. Both of them were due to ground movement issues, 1960 and 1966 pipe studies. We're still seeing majority of our leaks in that pre-1970 pipe, so we're definitely on track with getting rid of that stuff.
What materials do these?
Cast iron.
Those are cast iron.
And we have a few hydrant replacements, few valve replacements, clean 2 tanks. And I apologize for not getting in touch with you,
Yeah,
prior to that.
that's okay.
But this was kind of a spur of the moment thing, especially the water shortages that's coming, we didn't want that. The tank was at a low point in its cycle period, so, we took advantage of not dumping any water on the ground for that, so. Moving on to the drought update, Denver Water has implemented a surcharge to not only all the residents within the city, but all the master meter districts that are reading bill and total service. For us, that equals $1.65 per 1,000 gallons that run through our meters. And that includes system use, so when we have to flush or do any sort of tank cleaning, any sort of main breaks that happen, that surcharge will hit us over our, what they call the average winter consumption. They take January through March, average that number out, anything above that runs through our meters is charged $1.65 per 1,000 gallons.
So it's already started.
It starts May 1st, the surcharge.
Huh, that wouldn't be winter use then, but.
Well, they take your winter use average, plug that into May, June, July, August, September, and October, and we'll say, well, it's bad. Our average is 66 million, almost 67 million gallons a month.
January through March.
January through March. So once we hit 70 million gallons of water used, from that number moving forward, it's $1.65 per 1,000 on top of it.
And what typically would be the use after May through October? Double that?
Yep. Our highest month is July at 223 million. So triple that, quadruple that. We have been talking, we haven't got final numbers from them yet. They're going to use our 2026 average winter consumption numbers. We have discussed credits with them, so when we do have to flush for water quality and health and safety reasons, that we will track that and we'll get a rebate from them. Well, not a rebate, but a refund, credited back to us for that water that's used. The idea is to lower the outdoor irrigation for the year.
Sure. And how does this affect our ratepayers? How does this trickle down to the individuals?
Well, it's gonna be up to you guys. We figured we would implement the same sort of policy here, where it's gonna be a surcharge based on everybody's average winter consumption. So people that are using less water aren't gonna get hit with the surcharge versus those who aren't. Trying to do that 20% reduction. So that's what we were thinking.
Say that again, I was a little confused. Somebody that was under their winter consumption would not be charged,
They would not see the surcharge, correct?
which makes sense.
Yes.
So anybody that's over their average, they would be charged.
Correct.
So for the most part, all of these charges are gonna be passed through the district to the individuals that are over their average winter usage.
To an extent, yes.
What do you mean by two?
So. We do have a lot of people that are really conscious about the water they use, like some of them don't even use 1,000 gallons in a billing period, which is 2 months, so they're. Very, very low users, we have. Some. It's very, very few, it's I think less than 1% or maybe 1%. That. Get into that extreme usage. So. The idea behind it is, once you get over your average winter consumption, the surcharge kicks in. And that's how it's affecting Green Mountain, and that's how we think it would be best suited to pass that along to people who aren't necessarily reducing their water usage for the drought.
Can you remind us all again how individuals can monitor this online?
Yeah, so there is a website, it's called Ion Water, and if a customer has not signed up through that yet, they can reach out to us, we can give them their account number and walk them through logging in. They can create leak alerts and see their daily usage next day, so it reads every 24 hours, and you can drill down into 15-minute increments, so you can see, every 15 minutes of that hour, what sort of water monthly meter.
Do you think it's ionwater.org?
Ionwater.com.
Yeah. And not to get too far into the weeds, but the remote radio controlled reading of our water usage, apparently it's updating in 15-minute increments now.
Correct. Yeah.
And the system can handle that, especially battery power at the residence.
Yes. Yeah. It's the battery life is warranted at 10 years.
Even at that frequency.
Yeah. There's very small data packets I get delivered to the cloud.
Okay.
Daily. So
maybe it would be, just thinking out loud, it'd be worth reminding folks online on the main webpage that this is available, so they can kind of keep, I know it's on the website somewhere.
yeah,
To make it a little more obvious.
Yeah, it's on the bills too. So every bill that there was a little blurb about Ion Water. And we call customers too, if we see large leaks. Obviously we want to protect the customer from having an outrageous water bill, but also, especially now with the drought. We call them and let them know that they have a leak going on, and most people are pretty grateful for that, so.
You may recall back in January, we actually were forecasting this issue during this meeting. Now, sadly, it's come to fruition, but as Alex was saying, we're at stage 1, which, if I understand correctly, that's the most mild stage at this point.
This is the most mild outside of their normal watering rules that they have. They always will have the watering between 10 a.m. and 6 p.m. And they want you to fix leaks right away, adjust your sprinkler heads, make sure you're not watering the sidewalk at the same time.
So is there any sense that to go to stage 2?
In my meetings that we've had with Denver Water, they have not said that yet. No.
Okay.
What does stage 2 incorporate?
Stage 2 is even more reduced watering, so it takes you down to 1 day of watering, and then they start not letting people fill pools and things like that. So if anybody's interested in reading those as well, Denver Water's operating rules are available online. It's chapter 15 is their drought response.
And backing up one more time to something we talked about in the previous meeting, how the car wash is handling this. Most of their water is recycled.
It depends. A lot of the more modern car washes do recycle their own water. they can actually get certified through Denver Water and they get money for, equipment, I think. So there's,
Have no restriction on a car wash.
that's what I didn't know.
Same with the golf courses, all that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Water golf courses get the water from lakes and wells, don't they?
Some do, some get from, Denver Water has a reclaimed water system that they use for irrigating parks and things like that, and I think some golf courses buy into that. Some have a budget, a water budget that they purchase from Denver Water, so. It'll be interesting to see. They haven't, it's so new, well, not new, but it's so early in its rolling out process of.
So the reclaimed water is a separate piping system. Yeah. And we don't have anything to do with that. This just not.
Now, Denver takes the water, sewage or whatever we give them back, and they treat that water and let it out, or
Yep, all of the water goes down to, the wastewater goes to Metro Water Recovery where they treat and send it back down, the south line.
talk, trying to recycle that and bring it back into the system.
To my understanding, there's water right issues that they have to release some through, to downstream, water right holders that are eastern Colorado and in Nebraska.
What about the western slope? What are we hearing down that?
I have not heard anything, on the western slope. Been really focusing on just front row shooters and never has talked anything about the western slope.
I have a lot of questions about this and I have this on as another agenda item for later on. I find a lot of this questionable. I don't understand how this is working in light of the fact that Denver just promised that we could double our water capacity. So all of the drought conversation, I would like to have a deeper conversation of, but I also would like to get some legal advice before we go into that. So I'm going to defer some of this conversation until later. I will say up front that I am looking, and some of these questions are coming from a standpoint that I may disagree with staff on this. It's my understanding that, and I think this is stop me if I get convoluted, because I get convoluted. Green Mountain Water has a monthly fee. And we get grief about how high our monthly fee is, right? And we have a monthly fee because we guarantee our costs are covered 75%, including some staff and the infrastructure. Our fixed costs are covered in that monthly fee. Okay? Now, we do not pay Denver a monthly fee. They get the entirety of their revenue from us based on volumetric charges.
We do have a service fee associated with the years.
Okay,
Monthly service fee.
does it cover their fixed costs?
That I don't know.
Was my understanding from reading what they were saying that some of this is the loss of revenue is what we are paying for, right? We are not paying for water. Water does not, it's not making more water come. You still have to cover all of these fixed costs. And they are not making the money. Denver Water is not. So some of that I think needs to balance out. Why are we pushing all of those fixed costs onto one segment of the population rather than having everybody contribute to that? If that makes sense.
Yeah, and that was just, we were just modeling it the same way that it's affecting the district, so.
So, and I'll have questions about that, but that's where I'm kind of playing with the ideas that I know historically we have just kind of done this, but now that I have a deeper understanding of what we are actually paying for, I don't know that it makes sense to charge somebody with a lawn more because Denver Water has to serve somebody with a lawn and somebody with an apartment more. That makes sense. This is revenue catch-up, is what I'm thinking. But we can talk about that a little bit. Oh, I have questions, if I can catch up. Questions I have been seeing, so I want to get answers and get on the record. Can you hand water on, well, and maybe we'll get on that. Let me start with the assigned days for watering. Are we obligated to follow that by contract? Okay,
Yeah, we are obligated to follow their chapter 15, which is the drought response. So that's what we've laid out as what
okay.
we're obligated to follow.
Are you allowed hand watering on at
Yes.
different times? Is this strictly for sprinkling or
Yes.
irrigation? Or
Irrigation, yeah.
automatic
Mhm.
stuffs? Is it, okay, I'll ask that question again in the legal. The hydrants came up, you were talking about the water release and those things, and I know we had talked about that a little bit before. Is it possible to get that on a schedule or a notification so that people could bucket it and use it for their lawns?
Yeah, we definitely do that.
Okay. I saw the email. I was thinking we would discuss getting, possibly getting a mailer out for that. I don't know if that is something that we may need to do. Did you get a response to the email?
We've received a ton of phone calls, not really many emails, but a lot of people called in asking what the rules are and.
Things like I'm saying now too. Okay, and I'm just, like I said, I was scouring social media for what they were asking. Does anybody think it would be worth doing a mailer for rules and rate settings and things like this as well?
Yeah, I think it would be good.
Right, maybe we can bring this up. We'll bring it up again, Amanda. Can you tell me what you have the enforcement on there?
Yes.
We have talked in the past, this is. I know I'm getting attitude about this, but some of these questions that are like ironclad here for a drought, it was, oh no, we can't do that for development. So I'm getting a little trying to find out where it's going on. So for example, this enforcement kind of stuff. We currently, you explained how we can monitor for leaks, and we do that. So just because we're talking about it now, that does mean that we can monitor for, maybe we should look into later on doing this kind of base use thing we had talked about for a change of use. If we need it in future, if all of a sudden somebody has 20 people living in there, that we should be able to see that jump. There was concern, I thought, that we couldn't be monitoring for that kind of thing. But it sounds like we have that capability and we already do it. So maybe we should just get on and figure out how to do that if we need it for change. And we do need it for change of use already. We did have that talk. People are already
Yeah.
using that. So maybe we can, is that something that you can handle?
I believe so,
That-
yeah, yeah.
Okay,
Yeah, really the monitoring we're doing right now, like I said before, is to, get out in front of major leaks and,
right.
people getting, hit with large bills when there's something going on in their home that they're not aware of, and we're just trying to help them out, so.
And then for the monitor, the enforcement piece, tell me how that works. Because my concern is what I saw was, let us know if your neighbor is watering on the wrong days. And I hate that kind of thing.
Yeah.
So what happens if you, how strict is this? If you get a call to say, my neighbor is watering today, it's not his day, but the neighbor says, well, I've been gone for 2 weeks and I haven't watered. What do you do?
Well, then I think that's why the first violation is a warning, just to let people know that, hey, you're not watering on your correct day, and, it's no harm, no foul, but just be mindful of when you're irrigating.
Okay. So if you came out for a second violation and they explained they hadn't been using any water for 2 weeks, there would still be a fine.
Yeah. According to the rules that neighbor waters implemented, yes.
But if a neighbor did complain about a neighbor, you would actually send somebody out to verify.
Yes.
You would actually have to see it taking place.
Yeah, how are you verifying it without on-site or line-site violation?
I mean, there's, you can look at the usage history. Typically, when you look at somebody's profile, you see their normal winter use, and then you see a kind of like a spike during the irrigation season. And a lot of times it's the same time on the same days because the clock is set. Without fail, kicks on at midnight or 2 a.m. and runs for an hour, however long it runs, and
Are the customers well off if they start watering now in March, April? If there's gonna be a drought, start watering now in preparation so that they can cut back, or we're just gonna restrict it now?
well, as soon as they declared the drought, that went into effect immediately. So it's been into effect since March 26th. They're encouraging people to not turn on their sprinklers until mid to late May. And I think as far as the enforcement and things like that, though, I believe Green Mountain can kind of do whatever they want. Like if you don't want to fine, but at the end of the day, the surcharge is in effect. So that's how we try to reduce that cost to the districts.
This is where this is what I'm getting to. Some of these are personal things, but that's up to us to enforce as opposed to what we are as a district getting fined. Does that make sense? And that's so you're saying as a district, we are just getting that surcharge.
Sure.
I will come back to that later on. I guess I have more questions. And then I will, so thank you very much. Oh, no, well, on the drought issue, if you were still on this, I also got questions about doing the purification plant like they are doing for Aurora, the news, they have something like that. With my understanding, like Alex was talking about before, we had talked about all these water sources and things that we could do. I thought we were prohibited from doing most everything. Like having a purification plant or getting into the water rights or doing anything.
Yeah, our sole source of water is wholesale from Denver.
Okay. Well, okay, but let me clarify. Are we prohibited from doing a purification plant or buying a water right?
Yes. Well, if you buy a water right, you have to give it to Denver.
Okay,
So Basically,
pretty much.
yeah.
Okay, that's where we were at with Alex. Purification tank.
Or you could verify.
I mean, they have a closed system, Aurora does, right? Because they're doing their own thing. They're not going to Metro. So it'd be captured before it goes to Metro and do some of it. That's my understanding. Doing your own wastewater treatment and trying to,
They were doing it, they're recycling their own water, waste, and we put it back in the system.
Yeah, that would probably be controlled by the contract with Metro. Which I hadn't looked at.
yeah.
What if we tried to buy water from, what's the name of the, Sheffield,
Consolidated.
the lake down there?
Bear Creek.
Bear Creek. Yeah, that was called Bear Creek.
I think those rights were already sold. If they don't have, if they're not gonna flood it, but they were already spoken for.
There's no chance of buying anything there.
No.
Okay.
I mean, we could look, we could look at it, but it was my understanding that it was gone.
And if you do, you have to give it to Denver.
Yeah,
Well, that was my question.
but we could.
Yeah.
I mean. I don't know where that would go, but I mean, I know we had talked about that several times. If we gave it to Denver and we had, more, whatever arrangement could be made, it would be possible.
So we cannot create a reservoir or take an existing watershed someplace, create a little reservoir and store our own water.
Right. Yeah.
Because of our contract with Denver.
Yeah.
So you can't get anything anywhere, because, Morrison got some water rights of their own. Anybody who's got any water rights, we can't buy it from them. Everything's gotta be given to Denver Water.
Basically, yeah. So you are not you're not really a water supplier. You're a distributor.
Yeah.
So you don't have water. You buy water, you have tubes, send the water through the tubes. So yeah, you don't have a water rights portfolio or treatment plant or anything like that. You just
So no discretion whatsoever. Okay.
That's due
And
to
there was-
the contract.
what?
That's due to the specifics of the contract with Denver.
Yeah. That's
And it should be remembered that the reason for that was that when the district was set up, we needed this much water and Denver had it. There wasn't senior water rights to be gotten. We probably could have gotten some at that point, but it was just easy to go through Denver. Now Denver needs that much water and we need that much water and everybody's expanded, and so we're scrambling a little bit to.
Yeah, Greenmont's always been a distributor.
yeah.
The majority of it came from the north side of the district, along, North Avenue and First, like near Garrison,
Mhm.
but once development started booming out here, that's when the southern end, the conduit came over, which has the Green Mountain pump station down here at Jewel, Utah, sending water here, which in the agreement that was made, it's only so many taps could be put on the system before the cost sharing comes into play, so.
There was something else, cause I know we had talked about it. We go through all of these options repeatedly and there's. Am I missing any option? Let me just ask it that way. Or am I missing any options that we need to explore at this point on sources, treatments, drought, mitigation? Things that we could explore.
There's no legal avenue with Denver, that we can take that would allow us to look at other options.
Can we drill into groundwater?
Yeah, I mean,
I would suppose that all of the groundwater is spoken for here. What are you trying to accomplish? Obtaining more water for Green Mountain?
Yes, yeah.
Or a water district.
Man, if you're out on the plains, you drill. Here in the city, well, I don't know. Why can't you drill? I mean, theoretically, you have groundwater, like, I don't know, just thinking out loud.
Yeah. The way you get more water is the Denver water gets more water. Really is the answer to that question. Or you just start all over, which isn't possible. Like you develop a water rights portfolio and you set up a treatment plant and you start treating water and selling it to customers. But
I mean, I'm just reaching, maybe could you capture rainwater, can you,
We can put a water barrel out in the corner of this building and collect waters. Which is challenge,
it's not the
because we're violating our contract.
yeah, you can.
Well, there's-
back to them.
State level, you can capture rainwater at your own home, but you have to.
Yeah, but as a district, as an entity, we can't do it.
Yeah, those 3 rain barrels that you're allowed are gonna, or whatever they are.
One in each corner, we just, or the back of my truck, I'll take down to Denver.
Port Chatfield. Get credit for your 3 cents worth of water.
Yeah, 3 cents.
I'm just making sure we had the conversation again. I don't think that there were any new solutions coming up, but thank you for covering again. So we do get questions.
Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, and then the last piece on that was the enforcement, so.
Now, is that enforcement applied by Denver or applied by us?
So. We must comply with their drought.
are you asking who gets the money?
Well, yeah, well,
Who's
who
it now?
enforces it, who gets the money and, I mean, let's say he comes to you the second, I say, no, I'm not paying that. So obviously you're gonna put lien on my house or something, you know, or taxing or something, or do whatever, I don't know, but somebody wants to fight this, I mean, were they fighting us or they fighting Denver or what?
But so really, who gets the money? Does it go, you write a check to Denver?
No, it goes to Green.
And we get to keep it.
They are, the enforcement is on the districts, but we need to roll out and at the end of the day, we need to enforce the 2 days.
So it's really up to us to enforce it and collect the funds.
That is up to the district is.
The district.
But the only way you really have the ratepayers play nice is by fines or shutting their water off. I mean,
Yeah,
that's
well.
what it can get to, but.
And just,
You know, we've actually given them a first warning in that we're saying, by the way, we're going to a drought situation here, so you'll have to know that we're going to enforce some rules here.
and what happens if you get a neighbor who just doesn't play nice with you and he just wants.
Because if I
Get your
understand,
goat, you can call every day, every week on you and say you're not doing it. How do you deal with that?
Well, we would, we would investigate obviously and, it might turn into the boy who cried wolf kind of a situation with that individual resident. This is still really evolving. We do have a meeting with Denver Water, I think it's on Friday, to talk more about specifics of the surcharges for Green Mountain. At first, it was our 2025 average winter consumption, and then they got the data for 26, and now that they're gonna do it off of this year's. And then, we started talking about, well, we need to flush our system to keep the water quality up, and, that's where the credits came in for system necessity and our, all the new pipe that we're putting in the ground, that has to be, chlorine slug has to run through that, which creates a high concentration of chlorine, that has to be flushed.
And then you have to flush again to remove any of that residual chlorine to make it, you know, to standards. So there'll be a lot of flushing happening. We bought some meters just for discharge, so we'll be able to run that through a meter and get a precise number of what we're using for health and safety.
If I understand what I thought your question was, is on first violation, I don't think we're gonna sit there and say a general rule for all district members, you must do this. This is your first warning for everybody. I assume first warning means in a specific case,
Yeah,
we found a problem, you're doing it, and this is your first warning.
right.
Yes,
Yeah, okay.
yes, it's to the individual property.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, written or verbal.
So we are gonna be tracking it through our asset management software, and depending on if the resident's home or not, we'll leave a notice on the door that.
If people go to the website, there's a little band across the top that says, oh, by the way. And it's,
And it's gonna happen, I mean, you know, a lot of people turn on their clocks and cool on water, you know, and not always adjustments can be made, so.
so the assigned days are in effect now.
Yes.
Okay.
So our 2026 winter usage apparently is greater than it was a year ago.
Yes. So it did benefit the district to have them use this year's.
Not to nitpick, but I know there's some of us that go on vacation for 2 or 3 months. And so you could have multiple violations every day. Is it one violation for the whole 3-month period, or while you were gone, every day was another violation? By the time you get back, you've had 40 violations, and I don't know where you're at. I mean, it's kind of nitpicking, but
Yeah. Well, we haven't really gone through all scenarios yet, but I will jot that down. These are good talking points to have, and I can take those to Denver and see how what their reaction to that is. Because people are not always home, so.
It seems to me we have an obligation to honor the spirit of what Denver Water is looking for, and we have an obligation to do our part to conserve water. I know I'm not comfortable with some of these fees and fines and those kinds of things, but I hope we can find a way to show that we're team players as far as all of these districts go, and we want to contribute positively to this. I don't want to fight them and try and get more water out of them. I would like us to do what everybody else is doing.
Like I said, I know everybody does. I'm concerned that everybody does the same thing based on some old model that I don't know that is completely accurate. And I do think that there is a lot of penalizing that goes on. I mean, we are doing the outdoor water consumption while we are saying pretty much use as much water inside as you want. So add another 10% of users, will be the same as the 20% that we're saying. That's the kind of thing I'm looking for. For example, if our goal is to save water, I've seen a couple discussions where the 2 days a week doesn't work for our clay soils. Does anybody else have heard that?
I would agree with you on that, yeah.
That people would like to do 5 minutes every day versus 15 minutes every 3 days because it doesn't work.
Yeah, that would be more appropriate.
More response with the clay soil because it runs off onto the street.
That's exactly what
It
they
doesn't
said.
get an opportunity to soak into it. So if you run it, for an hour on a zone, it's gonna run down the street. Because it immediately saturates the top and then it just goes. So when you said chance to soak in.
That's the advantage of poking holes in there, doing that area.
Aerate, I got a tractor with an aerator and I aerate.
So I just did a quick calculation, it's probably not correct, but it looks to me like in the average summer month forecasting, the entire district would owe an additional $20,000 to Denver if we were 12 million gallons over what would be the normal winter use. Maybe I'm way off on these figures, but if it is indeed somewhere around 20 grand, it would seem that we wouldn't have to jump through these hoops. The district could pay the difference and we could monitor it and see if collectively, if we are reducing our water consumption throughout the summer. Maybe look at the first billing period, which would mean we would owe Denver $40,000 in penalties if we indeed went 12 million gallons over average.
Well, last year we used 1.4 billion total here. Right now, they're projecting if there is no reduction in use, about a $1.4 million surcharge.
A 1.4 million. My calculation is way off. Okay.
3 months.
For April through, well, it was October, but more than likely it's gonna go through the calendar year.
The calendar year.
So that's quite a bit more than I calculated.
All the way to December.
Our numbers, I don't know if you have that, can you throw that next slide up, Sam? Based on actual billing data from Denver, we calculated it at 1,083,000 for the total surcharge. It was just to be steady as she goes, no water reduction based on estimated numbers.
So about just over 100,000 a month. But if people did indeed cut back, it'd be substantially less.
Correct.
But we don't know that.
And again, this is total system volume, which was a little bit hard to swallow because, again, that's at our master meter that accounts for everything that comes in the district, our operational water, tank cleaning, system flushing, main breaks, all contribute to that. So,
Well, it is the water that we use no matter what though.
yeah.
All right, can we, since we will be revisiting this a little bit later, can we hear the rest of your report and come back?
Yeah. Next up is development reviews, 12795 West Alameda. In the process of doing, their, well, I think we just selected the area that we're gonna drop the meters in and then go through their study, so that's advancing. Fossil Ridge filing 21, all the main infrastructure for that project just got installed, so they'll be finalized with the home building out there and sewer tap connections.
So where's Fossil Ridge at? Is that the end of it or in the middle of it or?
That's the very last filing.
That's the last one?
File Fossil Ridge. The rest that's going on out there is gonna be the big sky. I think. I should know this off the top of my head. I think it was like 49. 49 taps.
21.
47. Yeah. It wasn't much named, but that's all installed. And Miller Associates, one of our consulting engineers, did all the inspection work out there, so that cost will pass through to the base.
Okay.
Infrastructure replacement projects, Dirt 2 is in progress. They've been laying pipe for a couple of weeks now. Dirt 1, they rolled out, starting yesterday. The work for that project is gonna be starting at Union Jewel, so expect some traffic congestion over there, but that's the one I'm very excited for, because the red zone line along Union from Jewel all the way down to the Dairy Queen, or on off tap there. It's the bottom of our pressure zone. It's very high pressure down there. Old pipe. I don't know when that line goes. It's not pretty. So once these two contractors get well into DERPS 1 and 2, we'll be implementing DERPS 3 and 4, which are change orders to their projects. We created a new webpage. It's on right on the front. You'll see a construction button. The people can go to that, click, and it will be weekly updating what streets they're rolling out to, when they're going to be there, as well as we have a requirement for contractors let customers know on their door when shut off, so they don't have plenty of notice or any sort of water interruptions.
Got some good feedback from that.
Yeah.
The initial notice is very scary,
Yeah.
but people say it's not as bad as you think. Yeah. Is the how's maybe because there's nothing, what is the status of the pie chart to show stuff completed over for our 10-year goal?
Still putting that together. We'll have something for you next meeting for sure.
Okay.
That's the end of my report.
Great, thank you. Okay, so then was there any questions for Mr. Stanley? Then we can move on to director's matters. First thing on the agenda is the carryover from last month of the president's message. Would you like to speak to that again?
Yeah, I move that we adopt a new agenda item as a permanent feature for our regular meetings, and that the president at the beginning of the meetings, before public comment, have an opportunity to comment on anything related to district business.
Is there a second?
Okay.
Second, Director Wickman. Discussion?
Yeah, I don't see any need for it. I think that the president or any board member can speak up at any time and put anything on the agenda without having to add more comment. Elude this whole process that we got going on here with more items that we have to deal with. Say the pledge of allegiance, we're going to keep adding things. So it's just, in my opinion, it's an unnecessary piece. It doesn't need to be added in here. You can add things to the agenda as you see necessary. Now that's I don't want to streamline things, not try to convolute things. I think that's just seems to be the focus by some people that try to just want to convolute stuff with adding stuff. So
Well, I don't agree. I just think it'd be a great opportunity for the president of this board to have an opportunity to bring up whatever's necessary without competing with the rest of us, with public or anybody else. And there's no obligation for the president to even utilize that time. They can ignore it. There are things that come up at the last minute, things of concern, things that come to our attention after reading the agenda. I think it's just a nice opportunity for the president. And, you know, it's no secret being president of a board is no fun. And it makes it even less fun when the president has to compete with the rest of us just to get some ideas across the table.
okay, you got an agenda item number 3 here. Approval, additions or deletions from the agenda. You can, at that point, if the president or anybody wants to add an item, they can say, I'd like to add an item that we discussed, like you added the other day when you added this on there. It was, you can do it at that point. If the president has an issue that they want to put there, they can do it at that point. I just don't want to, I don't think we need to make it a mandatory thing. And you say, well, they can do it at their own discretion. That's what that item does in my mind, gives it at their own discretion. So again, it's like, just keep trying to add stuff. Keep trying to add stuff. Let's add more stuff. Let's add more stuff. Let's make it more convoluted. So no, I don't see the need for it.
Well, I don't agree with you, and I won't keep repeating myself other than to say the agenda item you pointed out works great for all of us, for the rest of us.
And the president, she's a leader of the board. She's the president, the member of the board. Same thing applies to us, applies to that position.
Yep. I don't have anything else to add.
Okay. I will add, that I appreciate this. And I appreciate that the sentiment behind it is telling me that you wouldn't mind hearing me speak more. I feel like I speak a lot. So I don't feel like the need to do that. I do feel like this may be necessary for a different president, but if there was a different president, that president would have the support to get this on the agenda. So for myself, I really don't wanna think about talking anymore, because even I get tired of myself. So I do appreciate this. I won't be supporting it. I don't think it's convoluted, though. I don't think it's an unnecessary burden. I just think, and
It's complicating the structure here. So that's what
See, this is a good example why the
I-
president needs
I do.
time.
I do appreciate, I would appreciate that. I don't know that it would be on a record time though in this setting, so. But again, I do speak a whole lot, so I appreciate it, but I don't need that. Do you feel like it would be a problem to bring it back, when there's a different president or something else?
I don't, but I just think it'd be a nice permanent feature of the agenda.
Yeah.
Regardless of who becomes president next.
Right.
Highly unlikely that it would be me, since I'm not doing this for myself, but I just think it'd make it a lot easier for anybody in the future.
That's true.
And your term is over in a year.
Yes, yeah, so it's. I'll throw out there the other thing that if during the meetings you don't feel like there is enough time to get your opinions heard on any special thing, in the past we have done, we break into lectures and opinions pretty much at any time, and you can always bring stuff back and say underneath this, because if you have other things to say, so I don't need anything. What do you?
No, I'll say one last thing. The reason I seconded, on the one hand, I'm always interested in hearing anybody, and especially the president. So, happy to hear somebody. And so if we're clear that if in any meeting, president's got something to say, I would kind of look at the agenda and say, is there any additions or subtractions? And we'll sit there, the president want to say, I have a message for this meeting. Can I go ahead and put it on today's agenda? And I'd be like, yeah, I would like to hear that. But then on the other hand, I guess, like Art's saying, I don't necessarily want to force it onto every meeting coming up with something to say. So I'm not sure if it's really necessary for the agenda, but I was seconding it in it as much as I want to make sure that we're having communication from everybody, and, especially our president. But on the other hand, I think we could probably work it in with what we've got right now, so I could go either way.
That's what I'm saying. We already got a way of handling that issue in place already. Adding another bullet point on here is just, in my mind, convoluting the structure that we already have in place. So
And yeah, and I think you have said that, so I think we'll close the discussion unless there's. Okay.
I think it'd be a great opportunity for, I hate to give morbid examples, but if we needed to express condolences on behalf of this board, or we had to announce entry into stage 2 water restrictions, or any kind of emergencies, or any urgent actions that need to be brought to our attention. At the very beginning of the meeting after the pledge, the president has this opportunity to make all of us aware of, some serious change.
See, in that case, in all of those cases, I think that will come from our district manager. He will know more and sooner than I ever will,
I'll be on the agenda.
so. I can pontificate as well as the next person, but. I don't.
And again, I'm kind of loosey-goosey, so I'm kind of like, you've got something to say, I would just kind of depend upon you to say it. But I'm not gonna shut you off if you're not on the agenda, it's okay with me.
But it's very common in other organizations that I've been on the board with to have this feature.
Right.
And you even see it in newsletters. You open the newsletter, our president's message is first. Very common.
Yeah, well, and I did do a newsletter, president's message, and I should do another one, but, so.
If I don't, I do think that Karen does provide excellent heads up on a lot of stuff, with emails and stuff like that. So I don't falter for providing any information or lack of providing any information. Once again, there is a bullet point already in here to address anything like that. And I just see it as a way to try to, put something out there that shows that you're trying to do something. Just don't see it as doing anything more than what we already have in place. And It's just, we already have enough of stuff on a little piece of paper as it is, pretty soon we're gonna have 50 more on there. I think it's already here. It's item number 3. And any issues that are related to anything that needs to be talked about with this board can be brought up at that item right there. And if it isn't, like Karen said, the person who controls this agenda, he will make it a point to put it in the agenda and we'll know about it, at least by the Friday before the meeting. We're good to go. I put stuff in this agenda the day of the meeting.
Can we have a vote? All in favor? No. I'm sorry. Then all opposed is the 4. Motion fails. Director Wendell and sole support. Thank you for the opportunity. The next item is mine. See, I do put stuff on the agenda as well, so thank you. I was wondering if it would be what y'all would think about hosting a conference and a informational summit. I saw the word summit here recently surrounding high density. I don't think it's going away. I don't know how it will come back, but we've identified a lot of the issues. I think it may behoove us to talk about them a little bit more. And I think we would benefit. We are a little bit front of this issue compared to other water districts, which we have heard about as a complaint, but I think other water districts are concerned. I think it may be a good thing to inform them of what we have found out and then also hear their feedback so that maybe we can learn something more ourselves. So what I'm thinking about is getting some people in to talk about water supply. And maybe that's Denver Water, and I know we did this, like Alex said, we have asked Denver Water to explain how they have water, and what I remember too is they've got enough water to do everything unlimited forever. Pair that to the infrastructure, get an engineer in here to talk about our infrastructure. And maybe if we had, like I saw infrastructure ratings from the Civil Engineer Society. They were all talking about that. I know I brought that up before, but I don't know if anybody has rated us. What does that entail? But it may be interesting for us and others to put that together. Somebody to speak to refitting a build out. We have always been built out. We have never, Denver has always been scaling up, but we were always going to be done, and now we're not. So how do we do those conversions? Things like that. I don't know. What do you guys think?
One, 2 reactions. Number one, it's kind of speaking to one of my gut instincts that we need to be planning more for the future. And we know that, and we've said it, but it's a matter of we need to do it. And then that means sit around the table and start punching some numbers. And then in addition, the second part of that, as we've noticed in this last election and stuff like that, it's gonna be a real issue as to what we can handle. Cause like what comes to my mind is, we're in a drought and it's not a 1-year drought, but a 100-year drought. Then, maybe we ought to be thinking in terms of maybe we shouldn't be bringing on a whole lot more customers. We can't handle the ones we have right now. Maybe we should think about that before proceeding. So those are, in my mind, 2 sides, kind of a same coin. But in any case, I'm a big believer in let's study the situation. So yeah, I think it's a good idea. Good idea.
I agree. I agree. I think it's a great idea. I think that would be trying to put the cart before the horse and let's get ahead of the thing and try to, because I think you're right. We're going to be dealing with this going forward in the future.
Okay.
Better to have more players up at the table than less.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, I like dividing the question into two. One is, I'm not sure we really need to change or make a recommendation for a permanent change to our agenda either. However, I really like to understand what densification is because the definition is always changing. Um, there is a good, a beneficial part to the word densification that has been studied in Europe and over here, and Professor Gardner has given us a number of cases and information on what densification means and what it is by people who study it. Um, what we've heard about densification has been a politicized real study. It doesn't need to be politicized, forming sides. Densification does probably deserve to be a study. And I always like that because it gives us some data analysis. What what really are we doing by increasing population groups in certain parts of a city or in a rural area? And then we're also getting into that thing about are we constitutionally able to tell a landowner or a property owner under our constitution what he can do with his land? Well, there are certain restrictions, of course, and there's certain benefits from understanding that if you densify, if you do what the city council was understanding densification, it was a positive thing instead of just being a study. Um, that's what I mean by the politicization of a word that means study, actually. The best possible thing I can say about densification is the study, because densification should be considered. We probably would benefit from bringing it up every month and talking about it, because it became quite an issue here with what the city council was going down the railroad of alarmism, uh, when the city council probably could have benefited from understanding what it is that they're doing. Because when I asked for definitions, they are not, my city council here in Lakewood is not able to give a good explanation for what they're doing with that word densification. They use it a lot, but they don't talk about any reasonable factual reasons for why they're talking about it. Now, when we studied it, we found out that that means we're gonna have to make all of our pipes get bigger, according to what the city's talking. Well, maybe there's a better way of looking at densification that maybe allows more densification out in the higher plains. Instead of going to one person per hectare land use, maybe we could go to 10 people per hectare. And that would be better, I guess, because it would spread out the population. There's all those factors. But to densify the city of Lakewood probably is, from what they were considering, would probably cause a little bit of burden to our infrastructure. And what I've heard for solutions, no kidding, what I've heard for, in order to solve our densification problem, we need to stop using our cars. We need to stop using our gas stoves. We need to convert totally to electricity and start using public transportation. Nobody in this city wants to use the public transportation. There's a reason for that. I won't need to go into that. I used to love getting on our trolley car and going out to the airport. I don't like going out to the airport with those people anymore. Well, at first it was a nice idea. Now nobody rides our public transit. people don't even wanna ride the bus, which is terrible. I used to, anyway. I've talked enough about that.
You kind of touched on though, part of it in that we don't have the authority to address densification, population density, any of that. We have an obligation to provide water. That's where we stand. We can't sit here and judge how heavily populated a neighborhood is,
No.
or any of those kinds of things. However, that's what city council is after, that's what state legislature is after. They want to dramatically increase the amount of people living in Lakewood and other metropolitan cities. The average person doesn't want that. I'm sure most of us don't want that, but I don't think we can legally address that as a water board. We have to concern ourselves with what you were touching on, and that's capacity. As it stands right now, we don't have the capacity to address the city council's dream of doubling and tripling the number of people in our neighborhoods. We don't have that capacity, and it's not gonna happen anytime soon.
So are you thinking that this would be a waste of time?
I don't know, I don't think it'd be a waste of time at all, because our sentiments are with it, but I don't know if it's appropriate for what our mission is.
Well,
I like it, I like the idea, and I don't wanna let it die. I'm opposed to my neighborhood tripling in population, but do we have that kind of authority to keep beating away at that?
I guess I'm not understanding then, because
Well, we're talking
Well,
about things like densification, that's not a concern of a water board. Our
The-
concern is, can we provide the water?
well,
We cannot.
but
Well, that's what I'm-
densification is what's part of it.
that's what I'm talking about. How do you meet those needs? How can you? And
We can't.
well, so, but we would need the data and the studies to go. So let me, for example, I briefly talked to Josh about this, and he said that might be a good idea. We are a good idea to wait, because we are already commissioning a master study to look into some of these things. So that is a data-driven response, and we need to figure that out. We are going, I mean, I don't know if any other, do you know if any other water district is doing this? I mean, but from a distributor, our hands are tied in some ways, and we're gonna have to check out all of the angles, so they're starting with that. So it may just be an educational piece where we say, look at all the things that we have talked about. The change of use strategy, I was just saying again, I think that is something that we're gonna have to figure out. How can we know when somebody is converted their house from a single family to a double without telling us? Or, you know, do we need to change up, because our definitions of what a single family use is may be in conflict. If the zoning had passed, we would have had conflict there. So it's those kind of things we have discussed that night, and maybe somebody else has answers.
That makes sense.
It's not,
I'm under the understanding that there's a 6-month moratorium. So we're doing this in preparation for the city council's next attack.
I'm maybe, but I'm also thinking that there are state densification efforts to override whatever
Yeah,
the city
that
does
as well.
anyway. So I don't know
So I'm
where
not
it's
opposed, I'm
coming
just,
from.
yeah. I don't know I'm just wondering if we could be challenged because we keep hammering away at this densification idea when our concern is capacity, and we do have an obligation to serve.
But where do you get this obligation to service if we don't have the infrastructure to support that service?
Well,
I
then
mean,
we can't.
and that's where densification comes to play. So you're really you're juggling the same ball here, and you're trying to make a difference. I don't see your argument in what you're saying about densification is not the player. Yes, it is. Because if we don't have the infrastructure, it's because densification is causing us to not be able to support that because of our infrastructure. I mean,
Well,
how do you catch 20?
not only densification, I mean, we went over capacity in a couple of residential areas here all along. So without any of the zoning.
That's just it, but if you
So it's
just
just
don't take the
capacity.
factor of densification in as a player, and city council got to go through with what they wanted to do, we'd really be in big ass trouble. Because then we would have to go through, and we'd have to go in and start saying, okay, well, we gotta increase our capacity. So now we're talking about replace smaller pipes to make them larger. Well, that's gonna cost money, and now that's gonna impact our users.
Tens of millions.
Tens of millions of dollars, which that cost is gonna go down, is gonna be shoved down on our current user community. They're not gonna be happy about that. So yes, we as a Green Mountain Water Board do need to look at densification as a player when we look at our capacity. Because if we don't, it's gonna impact our end users.
Okay, fine, I understand what you're saying, I don't wanna get in the way of that, that's fine. I just wanna make sure we're fulfilling our obligations as a water supplier.
Yeah, that's another question. Of course, I started off with what we've been talking about for years and years, is our capacity. We need to be thinking ahead of what new pipes we need to be doing to handle the future. We know that we need to get onto it. Second thing comes to mind is this whole thing with the city right now, increasing the population and stuff like that. And they're talking about doing a study here and figuring out what we're gonna do. Are you thinking in terms of we participate in that thing with them to try to come up with a global vision of what the water capacity is for the city as a whole? Because I'm kind of seeing those as two elements that are related to each other. What are you thinking?
They are related. I'm glad you brought it up, but I did forget to fully flush out that thought. I would much rather figure out our own survey and send it around to other people.
I agree with that. Well, we have to do that. That's number one.
And I would rather do that with other I mean, that's what I mean. Find out what the issues are and ask other. I don't know what the results of Lakewood survey will be, but it would be interesting, I think, to see what our concerns are
Yeah,
and
that's, yeah.
compared to other districts.
So you're not looking at jumping into this city thing that they're thinking they're doing. We're talking about more of my vision of global capacity and stuff.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, let's load our gun up with the right bullets, right? Because I think with the city council, with the city.
I think it's not an overnight data grab. I think it'll be an ongoing thing. So, Josh, do you have any thoughts?
Well, part of the master plan that we're gonna be implementing is what are the data points that go into it? And with that, excuse me, that election being up in the air, or which way the zoning for the city was gonna go, it's kind of driving how much data we're gonna put into it. After speaking with the engineers and with Karen, we're just gonna have as much information as we can put into it. So coming up with what a new gallons per day per person total is kind of one of the drivers, one of the starting points, because that's gonna play a role in when you talk about densification or how many people are in a unit, what are the figures in those units, all that's gonna be, needs to be thought out and put into the model, so.
The reason I was bringing that up is because some of the players, when you talk about facts like that you're putting a burden on infrastructure. Those certain institutions, not to mention the city council, do not consider those issues. They go full speed ahead on, well, let's increase the population here, well, let's increase the and Green Mountain Water is left with the burden of explaining, well, you're going to increase the burden on our pipes. And so we're gonna have to increase the size of our pipes. That means you're gonna have to provide some kind of financial incentive for us to do that.
Did you have a thought?
Well, getting back, I don't mind back to losing item of B, I think we should, I'd like to see a summary.
Okay, fantastic. The next thing would be how to organize it.
Yeah.
Do we have volunteers for a committee to look for speakers and data and try and coordinate things? It's gonna be a lot to put on staff. They could probably use some board input as to what we want.
Yeah, I should help.
Wonderful. Anybody else?
I'll have.
Sure. I like studying that crap just because I like numbers and I like,
You seem to be alone.
but I want some Larry Gardner input on that.
Professor Gardner?
Yes, Professor Gardner, well, he led me to
He's on Gilligan's Island right now. So
Yeah, I
I
know.
don't know.
The University of London and the University of Frankfurt provided some real important points when they were studying the data regarding what does densification really mean. And they had some warnings and they had some good parts.
So I heard three people
Oh,
could
yeah.
be involved.
Good.
That triggers in open meetings,
So
which is fine. What if we did, cause I appreciate all of the input, what if we did something, we just had another special meeting for the committee? And we can have that running, Dave, can I nominate you to be in charge? Um,
As lazy as I am, yes, I should do my duty.
Not knowing.
I'll do my job.
I'm wondering about having a meeting once a month, every 2 weeks, try, do something soon to try and sketch out some ideas and then go away and try and research. I don't know, but if you schedule something for a morning, if it's an open meeting, then any member of the public could also join in.
I'm morning, afternoon.
Afternoon,
I can come
yes.
anytime.
After.
It's up to you, I don't care, I'm just, not evening. If other people wanted to come, it would be noticed. Does that sound fine?
Man,
Okay.
Could be unique in the whole world of Colorado. I mean, Excel just going right along with it, saying, oh yeah, we can take all the stoves out and now we can reduce the burden on our gas infrastructure and we won't have to provide gas to all these people. Well, all of a sudden, a whole bunch of chefs came along and said, well, wait a minute, in order to provide the kind of food service that you want in the restaurants and various cafes in this city, you're gonna have to provide us gas stoves, cause that's what we need. Not electric stoves.
well, getting bogged down in the details, the logistics. What I recall from the city, they tend to have a core of people kind of doing a lot of research over a long period of time. Then at several points in the process, open it up, invite the whole public to come in and give some input as well. But the idea is you can't do that in every meeting. But on the other hand, you do have to have a core group to kind of work out a lot of details. So there's a balance between big and little.
Whatever, you like, as long as, I mean, it's gonna have to be noticed because it's an open. So, the way it's run would be, people could come, but not participate then if you wanted to close that off, because it would be an open meeting.
Well, you know how I am loosey goosey. As far as I'm concerned, it's kind of like a committee. Now, I suppose you can say it's an official meeting, but I'm not inclined, if I were the chair, I wouldn't be inclined to say, well, you can't speak because you're not on the table or something like that. Everybody come in and speak and participate.
Okay.
And I like too much rather than too little.
It would be great. I am bogged down myself, so I will try and make your first meetings because I did have something to speak
I'm
and
thinking
things to look.
once a month
Sure.
in the afternoon.
And in the afternoon, that would be great.
And invite everybody, but
I think the initial meeting,
well,
it's gotta just,
Just notice it.
start hashing like this stuff out.
yeah, there are various degrees. I mean, you can kind of do a message to our group, and then another time you can do one in the newspaper, and get lots of people, balance it.
Sure.
I like that thing.
Okay.
And I'll do it because I'm not doing anything. I'm retired and lazy.
Plan trips to,
Yeah, I was gonna say,
Asia.
no,
Asia,
no trips for a while.
Taiwan or something.
When do you think the master plan will be completed?
2 years. with these new elements. We had some items that were kind of like ad hoc added in. We just did some internal work where we went around and surveyed like our PRV elevations in preparation for the modeling engineers to have data that they don't have to go out and collect. So I don't know what you think. I was thinking maybe September-ish.
That's not
I
enough.
think I'm pushing probably to the very end of the year. Yeah. There are a lot of people along the way as far as.
Why don't we push for sooner? I mean,
Well, I'm exhaling because I'm thinking the first part is, what do our engineers tell us we need to work with? We gotta have that basis.
Yeah, I have that information. So.
But is that something we can work in the next month or two? Or are we talking about September?
maybe we could shoot for a September summit and we can present what we've got. And if that is leaning towards questions, that's leaning towards questions.
Yeah.
And see if anybody else has answers, and it would be,
Or we're saying summit is in the big meeting in September? Or are we thinking in terms of a summit with a working group as we get together for the first time in September? Again, I'm trying to get a grip on September, or are we trying to do the summer?
Well, the focus is definitely gonna be the sewer side. Get that worked out. So. That's, I guess, why what I was saying, maybe September could be just for the wastewater side. And finish up near with the water side. That's,
So
everybody's concerned, the majority has been with the.
Is there-
so.
anything we can be doing this summer, or are we waiting until September?
No, you guys, for the committee?
Yeah.
There we go, we'll have to talk sooner.
yeah,
Why don't I get you kind of a scope
Yeah.
of the plan, and then that'll maybe.
Yeah, I'm looking for something that's in broad terms, like, once a month. On the one hand, you don't wanna put it too far off that you forget about it. But then on the other hand, if you don't do it enough, you forget about it. There's that happy medium, which usually is like a monthly.
Well, maybe that's your job, figure out when we're supposed to do it, huh?
I'm thinking set something for September and see if we can
Really?
get some speakers.
I'd
Have a
like a
committee-
time study.
Have a committee meeting.
Right,
first,
yeah,
But,
okay.
and see what you can do, and
Well-
set a conference date, big meeting, conference summit for September.
Yeah.
And then you can start arranging. I would like to see, for example, somebody from the Colorado Water Conservation Board. Colorado Water Conservation Board has a Colorado Water Plan that says, under big build outs, we have a 25% gap in supply. Well, how does that compute to what Denver Water is doing? Maybe somebody from Denver Water to answer those kind of questions. Maybe Denver Water has plenty and everybody else has got 100% gap. I don't know, and it evens out. So getting some speakers so that we can hear some of the issues that we haven't maybe thought of before. I haven't talked about the Colorado Water Plan. I haven't talked about what we talked about our infrastructure before. I don't know how many other people have, but I think we could discuss that with a panel of people. I would be interested in getting somebody from like the Sierra Club who endorsed Lakewood zoning based on the fact that it's gonna save water. Tell me how.
Yes.
So it's things like that to be reaching out, and if you could pick a date or a month and get some of those logistic things going on and then secure some people so that we can eventually have that conference study. Let's see where you want to meet first, and I will come and I'll help flesh it out too.
Good.
Yeah, I am looking for input from everybody, and especially the infrastructure thing has got to fit in there too, so.
Right.
I think I'm looking at this as infrastructure plus, it's an enhanced infrastructure.
Maybe somebody talk specifically about incremental tax lease, because that it will be a new model for most people who only had it. That's what we're struggling with. How do you do that? Somebody else who's dealt with, if we could find any experts who have done growth someplace in the country and had to remodel.
Okay. So
So-
everybody, please give me some input. I mean, not right now, but, write something.
Dedication. Good, that was that. One other thing, when we were talking about the master study, I had a. Could you look into, Josh? I am curious if how much it would cost if we can do a little study. There is imaging available that, that will classify, I would like a calculation of how much green versus developed land we have in the district. That, from my understanding, that should be currently processed imagery from Landsat. There should be a tree canopy, there should be a green, and there should be a developed. I think that's an important piece of looking into our health of a district.
Or there's future considerations too, if you wanna go this way. I talked to some engineers, they happen to be going to the same church I was going to in downtown LA. Well, they're water engineers. And they work for, whatever their water system was. They said they're waiting for a good energy source to get their own water out of this great big ocean they got out there. And they don't need no stinking water from Colorado anymore. Boy, would that make a difference?
Desalination.
Desalinization, yeah.
Yeah.
Not really an issue here in Denver, but yeah.
Well, it'd become a big issue if all of a sudden they said, keep your own water. Huh?
Sure, yeah.
Yeah.
Alrighty, are we ready
Big synergy.
to move on to legal matters?
But that's it. Sorry.
Excellent, why don't you proceed, please?
Dylan.
He's been awful quiet, I don't know.
I know, he's been sitting there.
I don't trust him when he's.
I know, when he gets quiet.
He's up to something.
He's thinking about his knitting he's been doing.
Oh, for goodness sakes.
Let's start for this cold winter.
Yes.
So on general legal matters, I'll give you an update on the various litigation matters, and then we have several executive sessions that you can go into, as appropriate. The lawsuit with former counsel Timmons, is on appeal. The opening brief is due from us in a few weeks, 2 weeks ago. We're working on that. My associate Tony and I are doing the appeal there. We requested a stay on collection efforts from the Board of Appeals. Previously, we had requested a stay from the trial court. And that was denied. We requested a stay from the Court of Appeals as well. That was denied. So she has garnished one of the bank accounts of the district. Those funds are being held by the bank presently, awaiting a court order on what to do with them. And the options essentially are to be returned to the district, to be distributed to her, or to be held in the court registry pending the outcome of the
How
appeal.
much are we talking about?
It's about 176,000.
Yeah, it was 171.
171. Which is the entire judgment amount plus the interest that's accrued since September or October.
So she can't touch it right now.
Not until there's a court order dealing with it. Yeah, so we're waiting on that order. It'll probably come in the next week or so. And
But we can delay that.
well, this is the delay, essentially. This waiting for the court order is the delay.
By the way, what you're just saying right now, is it appropriate for public? And you were asking
Yeah, also
strategy type things,
all of these things are publicly filed pleadings so far.
okay,
So,
but he was kind of talking strategy type stuff.
yeah,
That was real subtle too.
Yeah.
Had there been a different answer, maybe it would have been inappropriate to give the answer. The Ravine lawsuit is set for mediation in May, and that's one of the executive sessions to talk about the mediation process. The rezoning lawsuit, that is set for trial at the end of the year. We are trying to set a mediation, probably, I've asked for late June or late July. In the light of the election outcome, we may need to amend that. There are some elements of that lawsuit that are no longer applicable. For example, we are likely no longer asking for an injunction against the ordinance taking effect for obvious reasons. But I'm evaluating that complaint to see what we need to do with it. And the other matters are gonna be dealt with in the executive sessions, unless you have any general legal questions for me.
Well, you know, the one I always ask, anything going on with the Fed Center?
You're all done. The Fed Center is no longer a part of your district.
You know, that's the answer I keep wanting to hear, but it's like, are we still sure?
That's.
As a family, it's not.
I know nothing more about it because it is no longer your problem. So I have not paid any attention to what's going on out there after recording the exclusion. So it's done. You are done with it.
So it sounds like we need to redraw our border and send it to the permanent parties.
Yeah,
Good
you know,
point.
by January 15th of next year. And so this is the first inclusion or exclusion I've done for you guys. So yeah,
Just be included in our annual submission. Yeah. Map boundaries on our, internal have already been drawn.
great. You got your maps?
If county courts acted in any way, shape or form, anything
The district court approved the exclusion. Yep,
that's in writing,
yep, it's recorded with the clerk and recorder.
well, that should be reassuring, but you know, I'm just,
There is one outstanding issue, and that's just the reservation of capacity for the Fed Center generally. So that's just something that I need to follow up on and stay on. That's working on federal government timelines. So super fast.
Yeah.
All right. Well, if that is all for general public, next matter is the executive sessions. So we'll have a motion for, to go into executive session for the purpose of receiving legal advice for first, the Denver water supply and surcharge. Is there a second? Second, Director Martinez, all in favor, unanimous approval.
Yeah, just explaining my opinion that the discussion of the matter announced in the motion to go into executive session constitutes the privileged attorney-client communication. I am therefore recommending that no further record be kept until the executive session is concluded. Time is now 8:18. The time is now 9:18, and we have resumed the recording because the attorney-client communication is finished. The executive session has been concluded. For the record, if any person who participated in the executive session believes that any substantial discussion of any matters not included in the motion to go into the executive session occurred during the executive session, or that any improper action occurred during the executive session in violation of the open meetings law, I would ask that you state your concerns for the record. Seeing none, the next agenda item is 10B, executive session for Ravine.
I move to go into executive session for legal advice regarding the reading. Is there a second?
I second.
Director Martinez seconds, any discussion? All in favor? Unanimous approval.
As a district attorney, it's my opinion that the discussion of the matter announced in the motion to go into executive session constitutes privileged attorney-client communication. I am therefore recommending that the further record be kept until the executive session has been. The time is now 9:27, and we have resumed the recording because the attorney-client communication is finished. If anybody thinks anybody talked about the wrong things, tell me now.
Okay.
Moving on, the next agenda item is 10C.
I move to have an executive session for legal advice regarding the campaign finance complaint. Is there a second?
Any second?
Director Martinez, all in favor? See unanimous approval.
As district's attorney, it's my opinion that the discussion of the matter announced in the motion to go into executive session constitutes a privileged attorney-client communication. I am therefore recommending that no further record be kept until the executive session has been completed. Time is now 9:28.
So there's a lot of layers.
Time is now 9:49, and we resume the recording because the attorney-client communication is finished. If anybody has any concerns about what was discussed in the executive session, please state them now. Seeing none, the next agenda item is 11A.
Based on our conversation in legal section. I have some requests about, throughout the surcharge and how to handle these things. Does anybody else want to jump in and start? Okay. Because of the drought, Denver Water has set new rules in place. Has set a surcharge in place. For that reason, we will have to have a new rate hearing on a drought surcharge to implement. We have a recommendation to treat it as we have done in the past and kind of do a tiered system and rely on individual users to make the cuts that will overall affect the district at 20% conservation. I would like to see us act more as a community. I would like to see us save water as a district. And rather than kind of enable growth as a district and have more water and then penalize individual users. So for the rate hearing, I'm wondering if we can do two sets of calculations, the one that was originally suggested. I assume, do you have some kind of basis for that already? An idea of what that would look like? Anyway, we'll get to.
For the, as a whole, for the community one?
No, that's okay, we'll go over it. If you can do the, for the individual users, if we are going to do that, just as you had said in the beginning, how we have historically levied the surcharges. And if we could also do a schedule that predicts how much the surcharge will be overall for the community, and see if we can divide that by the number of taps, so that by the number of users, so that we can more equally assess the find and encourage conservation among all of our water users rather than just penalizing one. Because I think that will help us also get set up for in future for as we transition to this no yards thing, but it will also help us with everybody. So there's two different scenarios. Have I got everyone clear on what the scenarios are? Do you understand the one setup? And okay, then my next question would be, what does everybody think about on this community-wide one, the second scenario that I'm offering, asking for, if we looked at assessing, figuring out what that surcharge would be per user, and then assessing half of that and using the reserves for the rest of that to come out of the district. Did you have a question? No.
Watching what comes out of that statement.
Oh, I'm asking for whether or not that would be a scenario to put on the agenda. I'm not asking for a.
I think it's a valid scenario. I think we should put it on the agenda just because I would like to think about it, but yeah. That's a new one for me right now.
Okay.
I thought we're gonna have to, I like the idea of spreading it equally across everybody's plate. And everybody share the hurt.
Okay.
Yeah, but offsetting some of that for our users, that's a good valid question.
We do have a rainy day fund.
I got we need a phone.
Okay.
I guess that would be then a third scenario to have ready what that would be, and we can decide on that
Well thought out.
later.
Thought out.
Okay.
I'm not sure what to think, but I hope we're not confusing people because they've already, it's not posted on it, but they've already seen the kind of the penalty structure. I think everybody's aware of that already.
Yeah.
As I mentioned earlier, I like the idea of being consistent, trying to be a team player with Denver Water. I like that idea. So I'm kind of undecided because I like what you're saying as well. So to me, a hybrid would be in order. I know you're separating all of these, but to kind of lean towards what you're suggesting, having the district as a whole kind of absorb a good portion of this, as opposed to individuals that have different watering needs. So I like that, but I'd like the idea too of maintaining the warning $250, $500 penalty feature.
Okay.
I'm just thinking out loud because I don't know for sure.
Would it be, is the penalty part of the rate hearing? Is that just built into something? Where is that? Where did that live?
That would need to, I think that needs to be built into the rates and fees hearing.
Okay.
The 250 and 500 penalty.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that would be. If you're gonna impose it, if you have to charge it directly the same way, I think you need to adopt that as part of that.
Okay.
But for clarification, the penalty portion of all of this, just for people watering on days that aren't authorized.
Right.
It has nothing to do with the volume of the water.
Right.
So I think that's fair because we're asking the community to absorb this, most of it, or a good portion of it in general. If you're ignoring all of that, continuing to waste water on days that Denver has asked us not to, I think the penalties would be appropriate.
I lean the other way, not because, the intent is always to save water. I just don't know that the system. To be so rigidly adhering to a day with no opportunity for excuses or anything is, we don't have any of those excuses, right? So I don't know that. I don't like that.
There's a variance process available in the rules also from Denver, so.
From Denver.
Request variances.
So there's a process in place in Denver for, say, going in and questioning your fine.
Well, there's an appeal process.
An appeal process.
Yeah, but there's also, you can request variances, so you could adopt a policy similarly.
Okay. Well, and I didn't ask, I didn't focus so much on that before, but maybe, that's a good idea. Okay, so we will need to then have the three different rate structures. Surcharge structures, and the penalty as suggested by Denver Water.
Now, did we determine, just real quick, that we are stuck with that, or are we in a gray area with them on that?
On the penalty?
We need to find that out.
we need to find that out. So I thought we need to find it out specifically, what our options are related to them. Or is there any movement within that?
So could we get the penalty on the rate hearing and then the information?
Yeah.
To go with that, I would also, did I already ask you to see if you can, find out what, I think I made a note, how many penalties were assessed last time? If we have any historic data.
I can definitely investigate that.
And then if anybody had, and that at the end of that hearing, maybe we can do a mailer to explain what we decided and the surcharge. I've got a couple things for that. The surcharge that we decide, penalties, reiterate the drug structure. If we can get a hydrant, something set up so that we can put that on there. If you want to look at it, get what the page. We get this stuff set for the mailer, including,
Do you mean for people
variances.
to come up with cloud?
Yeah. Variances, that was the way. Okay. All right. That would be a good way to do it if so. So if we could have a variance and somebody could come and ask for. How many, you were the one who said that
Yeah.
if we wanted to do less water in more days. And if we can approve that formally. Is that something that is possible? Okay. Can you, one of you have some language ready for how we can adopt a variance policy?
You probably have a language in your rules and regulations that's parallel to that.
Perfect.
Already.
Okay, I'd appreciate it if you could, because I will forget. And. Okay. Anything else for the hearing? We need to set a new date. Is that the next, can we do that at the next regular meeting, or do we have to have a special meeting?
Well, if we put public notice out tomorrow is the deadline for putting it in the paper. Otherwise, it would be next week.
Right. Okay, so if you put it in, we need 30 days, so that's the next regular meeting, will be the hearing.
So it would be. Get in tomorrow, run next week. Gonna run,
It has to be, it doesn't have to be published. It has to be 30 days. So rates and fees hearing. So we just have to put it on the website.
Okay.
So you can't do it. It's too late to do the regular May meeting. Because 30 days from now will be 2 days after the May meeting.
All right, I gotta do a bathroom break.
12.
So 12 is in 28 days, so you need to do it after that.
so the 19th would be following Tuesday.
That's all.
May 19th then?
Yeah.
Okay,
That's me.
Seems like Tuesdays were best for.
Yeah.
Yeah, everybody likes to street.
Okay.
So.
Okay, so that's the date, fees, surcharges,
Fees and surcharges.
both May, right?
penalties,
19th of May.
variances, what else about this? Hearing, do we need anything?
Fees and surcharges.
Well, the variance piece for that would need to be in,
We could do that at the regular.
yeah.
Yeah, that's
I should find out. Variance on days and enforcement. To do
I guess so. Are we asking, you're saying to go through Denver on whether or not we have the ability to have a variance on that?
Yeah, I'll spend a little more time with the rules.
Okay. Okay. All right. So we are, anybody else is, anything else on that? Okay. New business? Does anybody else have new business? I will try and get, if I remember. Do we need to go through? To have it on the agenda for the next meeting, to have a mailer on this? Is that,
Yeah. They start discussing what's gonna be on.
We're gonna discuss at the next meeting on a mailer on the drought response.
I mean, as a policy decision? What's the policy that we don't need to decide? What the lines are on the mailer? So some of that we can give input to the manager will handle it. So that's what I guess I'm wondering. We're overlapping. Do we have anything that policy wise that we need to decide whether or not it's a good idea, I guess, but that's probably operationally. Well, we can have that discussion. We'll put it on the,
Next month's meeting.
and then. I guess that's it. And then what I will, if we can put back on the agenda, if we had any new considerations for that change of use form, if we are able to set in that threshold where we see more water somehow, looking to see that, to capture that changes that are already going on in the district that we don't know about. Start thinking about that. Okay. Nobody else has anything? We can adjourn the meeting at 10:07. Thank you all for a very long meeting.